Life it has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change when it was found. Sugar never tasted sweeter on my lips. My heart is now intact and I can find no rest.
Very good afternoon to you, and welcome to Xandermonium, the talk show that gets you talking. I'm Xander Gibb, and coming up on today's show, I will be looking at some of this week's hot topics with my very special guest co-host, Swoop from Swoopsworld, who's covering for Ty this week. More to come in a mere moment. You can interact with us during the show in the chat room at the bottom of the show page. Keep scrolling down. Now, if it doesn't let you partake in the chat, you have to join with Facebook or Twitter, but you can do that with just one click. You can also call us on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. You can also tweet us. My Twitter handle is at XanderGibb, XanderGibb, capital X, capital G. And you can also tweet Swoop. Swoop's Twitter handle is at Swoopsworld, SWOOPSWORLD. And don't forget that all-important at symbol. Tweet me if you're too shy, and I will make your point for you. Oh, yes, indeed, I will. So there's still time to vote in our poll for this week at xandergibb.com. And the question for this week's poll is, the Pope is calling for action on climate change. Does climate change actually exist? What say you? Does climate change exist? Go to xandergibb.com and click yay or nay. You can give the call on this subject and absolutely anything you want to get off your chest on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. This week's show is sponsored by Healthy New Day, www.blog.healthynewday.com/inspiring healthy living through whole food and nutrition. We'll be finding out a little bit more about that later on in the show. So Keith Swoop Lewis is a broadcaster, writer, and host of the popular Swoopsworld, and as I said, is stepping in for Ty today as a guest co-host. So without further ado, let's welcome back to the show, Swoop. How you doing, Swoop?
Hey, I'm doing great, Xander. Thank you for having me on.
It's always a pleasure to have you. How's your week been? Anything interesting happened to you that you want to share with the world?
You know what? My week's been great. Nothing real interesting other than just doing the things that I love each day, so that's been good this week.
Absolutely. And we're going to be doing a segment later on in the show with you regarding your kind of non-radio and presenting work. We're going to talk a little bit about health and nutrition, et cetera, and what has kind of brought you to that. I'm actually seeing more and more that people are taking to healthy eating as a way to inspire health and well-being. And I don't know about you, but I kind of, when I discovered it, I wondered why I didn't know more about it. There is a school of thought out there, Swoop, that the bigger food chains, fast food chains even don't want us to know about healthy eating. Would you agree with that, or is that a total myth?
You know what? I think It's twofold. I think because what you'll see, if everybody leans more towards healthy eating, they try to bring in healthy options to the fast food chain. So they're all about making a dollar, and they're all about selling food on the cheap. And it's a whole lot cheaper to throw together burgers and fries, and fry them up and serve them out, and than it is to do some organic lettuce and vegetables and lean meats and things like that. So they're all about turning a profit and putting out food on the cheap, and I think until the masses demand more, they're going to keep doing what they're doing.
I absolutely agree, and I kind of have this ideology that if I'm not kind of like a big government fan, but I think if the government were to flip this and made it so that the unhealthy stuff was actually more expensive, I think it would change people's minds. Because I know for me that when I don't know if it's possible to be 100% organic, but I would definitely say I am 80% organic, and I eat gluten-free. But what I do find is that most places that sell organic and gluten-free, they want to charge you through the nose for that. Do you think that if more people ate this way, then the prices would come down eventually?
The way to get the prices down is for everybody to take control of their own food. I grow most of my own produce. What will happen is if the people and I grow it in a way which most people can. But if people start taking more control of their own food, it's going to force grocery stores and restaurants and things like that to lower their prices to accommodate people with the type of food that they want. And it's what they always say is money talks and BS walks, and that's the truth.
Right.
I mean, if we demand more out of these places or demand more out of our restaurants and our grocery stores and our markets, then they're going to have to step up to the plate, because if people aren't shopping there, now only thing I have to go to the grocery store for is very, very few things nowadays. So the amount of money I would spend there a few years ago is it's less than half of that. So if more people start doing that, they're going to step up to the plate and accommodate the people who can't do what I can do.
Absolutely. So one thing that I know in some areas you can actually get someone that's kind of like an advisor that will come and help you set all of this up. Now, did you do this yourself, and do you use organic soil as well as organic seeds?
What I do is we're going to talk about my company in a little bit, but I use what is called a tower garden. It's an aeroponic system. I grow 20 plants at a time and use about 10% of the water that you would use in soil growing, and it's fabulous. I have very few things in soil. I have a few things in pots on my balcony. I have limited space, but I grow an abundance of produce on my tower garden, and it's just water and nutrients. I do use organic seeds, and so that way I know that it comes from non-GMO organic source. In the soil that I use, in the few pots that I use, I do my own composting, and then most of that comes from the leftover from the organic produce that I grow, and so that's pretty much 100% organic also.
Absolutely, and I think it's an older tradition, because I remember as a child that my grandmother would never throw anything away. Like she would save the peelings from the potatoes, and I never understood why until I was older. But she used to put them in a plastic bag, untie them, and then put them under the sink, and then she'd take them out a couple of weeks later, or a few days later, or whatever, and then she would plant those, and then we'd have more potatoes. And I never kind of understood the concept. But do you think we've actually gotten away from that ideology of doing things ourselves? And do you think part of that is to do with the fact of the effort that it takes to get it all started?
Yes, I think we got away from a lot of stuff. And a friend of mine has a phrase that they use all the time. It says, "Your grandmother was right." About a lot of things.
Sure.
I mean, my grandmother would go send us out to the garden to pick certain different types of plants and stuff. So when we got sick and she'd make a tea or something like that, we weren't always going to the pharmacy picking up some kind of medication and commercially based medication. It was stuff that they learned and they passed down throughout the ages. And you're right, as far as the potatoes and things like that go, a lot of that stuff was way it was done. They grew a lot, just so you said, like off of the scraps. And a lot of things you can use a part of an onion and get another onion started. You can, like you said, slice a piece of potato off and the peelings and stuff like that off and replant that, and you grow potatoes. And I have to admit, I didn't know how easy it was to grow potatoes. So last year, when my dad, I was visiting my parents, and he had all these potatoes growing, and I said, how do you do that? And he told me just basically what you just said, and but there's a lot of things like that people used to do, and I think we live in what I call now the microwave industry, where we want everything done quickly, we want it done fast. If it takes more than 2 minutes, it's a waste of our time. You got to get in, you got to get dirty, you got to do what you got to do, and it's actually a healthier way of living.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that often stops me is that when I have the time to kind of put all of this together and get it started, because I live somewhere now where I could actually do that. A lot of people are unsure about what point in the year that they should plant. Now, can you do all year round, or do you have to do it at a certain point in the year, or?
Here's the thing. I live in Southern California, where I can grow a lot of stuff year round, and have longer seasons than other parts of the world. But if you look at, you can look up on the internet, or you can look on the back of a pack of seeds, and everything's broken down in zones, and it tells you this grows in this zone during this time of year. Plant it, this many weeks out, and then this time of year you're going to have the results of your efforts. And you can grow year round.
Right.
And you can grow year round anywhere. When you start talking about soil growing, you're limited to certain things, certain times of years, and certain climates. If you talk about what I do with the aeroponic system, you can grow year round in that, because it grows anywhere, and you can put it inside, and you can use grow lights or whatever you need to do to grow what you need year round. So yeah, we can, but like you were saying, when it comes to the growing in soil and things like that, and certain types of plants, yes, there are time limits and time frames, but the seeds, the back of the seed packets, or you can look it up on the internet, it tells you what zone you're in and what can grow in that zone at that time of year.
Brilliant. So I'm kind of curious. You've got me curious about this aeroponics stuff. How much did that set you back, Swoop?
You mean the cost of the system?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's realistically, we have several different sizes. The one I have costs $525, and you can get it for $49 a month with no interest. But the thing is, Xander, the bottom line is it paid for itself for me in about 6 months.
25 what? 25,000? Are you talking about?
$525. And,
$525, right. Right.
It's the entire system, and it comes with its own pump and the base, and you can grow 20 plants. It comes with seeds to get you started, the rock wool you need, everything you need to get started,
wow.
The nutrients and whatnot. But I was going to the farmer's market every week, and I figured it out, and mine paid for itself between 5 and 6 months.
Right.
So, now it's all pure. I've had it for 3 years. I have 2 of them now, but I've had it for over 3 years. So it's more than I reap many rewards from it.
Absolutely. I mean, where I lived before, I was in an organic. Food share, and that's kind of only seasonal. And I was never kind of, you used to get a lot of stuff, but it was never enough. You still had to go and buy lots of other things. What kind of things are you growing right now?
Right now I'm growing tomatoes, Japanese eggplants, 2 kinds of kale, serrano peppers, bell peppers, collards, basil, 2 types of basil, zucchini, lemon cucumber, regular cucumber, yellow squash, some radish, some arugula, 3 different types of lettuces, and I'd have to walk out in the balcony to see the rest.
So it's all around to yours then for a box of organic fare, is it, Swoop?
It's good. I can grow pretty much. The thing is, you can grow anything in it that's not root bearing. Like you can't grow potatoes in it. You can't grow bulb onions in it. You can grow
right.
green onions, and I have some green onions growing in it. I have some what is that? Oh God, some herbs, different types of herbs. But yeah, you can grow any vegetable that's not root bearing and nothing that turns into a tree. As long as it's a bush-like or plant-like, like lettuce and things like that, and like you said, peppers and squashes and long vining things. You can grow any of that in it. And the thing is, it's taken around the world. There are farms. I have a friend who has several farms where he has, I don't know how many he has. I would say over 50 tower gardens, and he's helping supply restaurants and helping feed the homeless and things like that with it. And there's a guy up in New York called the Green Bronx Machine. He's in the Bronx. He's brought it into his classroom. He's got a whole kinds of things going on that. He won a presidential award. It's an outstanding system, and our company's very proud of it.
Brilliant. So I want to kind of expand on this a little bit more. Now tell us about what you're doing kind of business-wise, which is kind of an extension of this, I take it.
Yeah, I lucky enough to go throughout the day, share, the great benefits that you can achieve through, consumption of whole foods, specifically fruits and vegetables, and, diet and exercise. And, we talk about great quotes like, Hippocrates, he said, if we could give every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, not too much, not too little, we would have found the way to, safest way to health. And so what I do is I share this information with people daily, and I'm the market. My business, my own personal business, home-based business, is basically the marketing arm of the Juice Plus company. I talk to people about how they can get more fruits and vegetables in their system daily, either through eating an abundance of the rainbow of fruits and vegetables. You got to eat the rainbow. You got to eat a whole lot of servings. Or you can use what we have to bridge the gap between what you eat and what you don't eat. And what Juice Plus is fruits and vegetables in capsule or a chewable.
Right.
We also have what we call the complete shake, and as well as the tower garden that I talked about. And and I talk to people about how they can get those things and how they can get it in their diet daily, how their children and their grandchildren can get it for free. And it's a blast because about 10 years ago, Xander, I'll back up just a little bit. For over 20 years, I worked in law enforcement, and I retired and I opened a business. And I met, some great people that are really truly good friends of mine now. And one of those friends of mine introduced me to Juice Plus, and he said, have you looked at this? And I played sports, football, track, and a lot of other, and weightlifting, bodybuilding, and I was over all the vitamins. I said, I'm not taking vitamins. I'm all about juicing and whole foods and stuff like that. And once I realized that Juice Plus is a whole food, it's not an isolated vitamin, and then it just made sense to me because I knew I wasn't eating enough fruits and vegetables. I knew I wasn't getting enough. Even when I was a vegetarian, I wasn't getting enough because, they say,
absolutely,
you need 7 to 13 servings. Used to be 5 a day, but then they said 7 to 13 servings, which is still not enough if you're an active person, especially athletes. They need, twice that much.
Athletes like me, you mean, Swoop, of course.
Exactly.
Let me just sorry to stop your interject, but we've got a call and let's bring them on and see if it's a question or. Hi there, you're live on Xandermonium. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Tom, and I'm calling from Long Beach, California. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Welcome to the show, Tom. Do you have a question or a comment or something you'd like to share with us?
Well, I was invited on the call to listen in, and I'm liking what Swoop is saying. I'm going to implement even more.
Absolutely. So is this something that you've thought about implementing in your own life already, or
oh yeah, very much so, but it's difficult to do.
Right. Well, Swoop will be giving out after the show. Swoop will be giving out links so you can kind of hook up with him on social media and stuff after, and I'm sure he would be happy to give you some guidance. So tell us, Tom, what is your reason for kind of wanting to do this? Is it because of a health problem, or you just want to get generally healthier, or what is it for you?
I learned too late in life what's important, and I was one of the gym rat meatheads that glugged down any form of protein that I could get because I read it in a fitness magazine, not a health magazine, and I realized I was doing.
Hello, Tom. Did we lose you?
I think we lost him.
I think we did indeed. Feel free to call back. He's still on the system, but I don't know where he went. Are you back, Tom?
I'm here.
Hi. Yeah, we lost you for a second. It's just this Blog Talk system's not always so good. So carry on with what you were telling us. Feel free to share.
Well, my health journey was usually about eat enough calories. When I was younger, I was a pretty good athlete in a lot of sports, and then as I aged, I had all the same problems, maybe even more, because I was exercising beyond what I was eating, and I thought that if you ate enough calories, there'd be enough good stuff in there, so don't worry about it. Well, I was wrong, and so it's always a struggle to try to get what you want every day, and so I'm glad I called in.
Absolutely. So is this a familiar, does this sound familiar to you, Swoop? Is this a typical experience for most people?
Yeah, I think especially if you look at the people who were active, and younger, as an athlete and kid growing up, and even I saw the same thing with my kids. You get all the information from certain magazines or somebody else in the locker room or somebody else in the gym, and a lot of times that information is not accurate, and a lot of times it's information that was believed at the time. I mean, our government used to push us to take multivitamins and take vitamins, but the science over the last 5-10 years has proven that isolated vitamins aren't what work. What works is a synergy between the food you eat and the nutrients within the food. And if you eat good, wholesome, like I said, a wide variety of a number of fruits and vegetables, then you get the amount of vitamin C you need, and vitamin A you need, and all the vitamins you need, as opposed to a mega dose from some man-made isolated vitamin.
Absolutely, and I think it is all very circular. But I think the government has a vested interest in people not eating so healthy, because in the short term they make lots of profit from that, from the sale of these processed foods. But long term, I think that obviously further down the line, we're actually seeing now where people have lived lives and not eaten properly, and the health problems that causes, which obviously has a financial implication too. Listen, Tom, thanks so much for calling. Hope you'll stay with us for the rest of the show, and hope you'll join us again.
Interesting. Thank you. I'm glad it did.
Thanks a lot, Tom. So, we're going to kind of move on a little bit from this, but, for me, Swoop, I actually got to a stage for me where my body was saying no more. I've suffered for most of my adult life with obesity. I have arthritis and all of these other things. And I think that even no matter how educated you are, people kind of think there's nowhere to go, and I secured the services of a nutritionist who was a friend, who was the sister of a friend of mine, and was just amazed at how simple this was, and like a lot of people that are listening will probably be able to associate with, I poo-pooed juicing, and I was like, why would I want to juice anything? But I'm addicted to beets. I'll throw some beets in the blender with avocado and a few other things, and some almond milk, and that's great. That's a meal or a snack for me.
Xander, Xander, real quick, you mentioned that, and the thing is what people don't realize is, most chronic disease has a diet link to it, and so
for sure,
if you eat right and eat like you said, the things you need, and the juicing and stuff. I juice too, and I still, I juice. I take my juice lots. It all works together. But over time, and you mentioned something earlier, we're always looking for that quick fix. If I take a pill,
right.
Will I feel better tomorrow? No, with nutrition, it takes time. But once your body once all those things happen in your body over weeks and weeks and weeks, that's when everything starts to click. And some things you'll feel immediately, but most things you're going to take several weeks to turn all the damage you've done over the years around.
I mean, I can attest to it, because the difference it's made to me is that I've lost weight, and I've still got a long way to go, but I'm a lot healthier as a byproduct of this. Am I always perfect? No. Do I ever eat junk food? Yes, I do, because I'm human. But I really try hard not to, and I eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables. I really try and take good care of my diet, because for someone like me who has issues in this area, we've talked extensively on the show about eating disorders and stuff, and I've always had a tendency to overeat. But what I found is that when you pig out on healthier stuff, it's not so bad, and there always has to be an element of watching quantities. But some foods you can eat as much as you like. Well,
that's true, and the other thing is the more you eat healthy, the more your body starts to crave that. See, we're used to eating junk, and you know what? It's you said you eat junk food, everyone else. So do I. It's not about what you do, 100%. It's one simple change. You do one simple changes along the way, and like you said, the more fruits and vegetables and healthy foods you eat, the more your body craves that, the less it craves the junk.
Absolutely, and I can personally attest to that, and like I said, I'm addicted to beets. I love beets. I eat them with everything. I don't eat them with dessert, but I buy them. I'm not much for plugs on the show, but I mean, whoever you are, Trader Joe, if you are a real person, I absolutely love you, because places like Trader Joe sell organic and healthy stuff pretty cheap, and I know they're kind of in the New York area, but I know that they're also on the West Coast too. Apparently, some people are calling it TJ's nowadays, but I definitely recommend them wholeheartedly, because not only are they value for money, but as well as that, the stuff that they're selling is actually good quality fare. So I want you to, if you,
funny you mention that, because the places. The few things that I told you, the few things I still have to go get that I can't, that I don't grow, and things the weekly things I need. That's where I go.
Absolutely. So tell people where your website is, so people like Tom can contact you and see how you might be able to help them before we go on to some newsy items.
Absolutely. You can go to my blog. It's blog.healthynewday.com, and right there, I try to post some healthy information for you, each month. I'll try to pick the pace up on that a little bit more. But you can go there. You can also get to my other business website from there, or you can go straight to my business website, which is healthynewday.com. Tells you all about all the tabs there. Tells you how the children can get Juice Plus capsules or chewables for free. It also tells you how you can how you can
free.
Get it.
Wow.
Yeah, we have what we call the children's. It's called the Children's Health Study, and you sign up for that, and there's a way for parents to get either their children or grandchildren or some child that they care about these fruits and vegetables for free. And there's four tabs. There's four tabs there. It tells you about the Children's Health Study. It tells you about the Tower Garden. It tells you about our company, which is 40 years in the making. It's debt-free. It's been around for a lot of years and does great things. And also it tells you how to contact me. And for the few people that want to learn to do what I do,
absolutely,
and
we will share those.
You can go there. Yeah.
We'll share those details for you after the show also, but make sure you go check out Swoop. on his other venture to do with healthy eating, et cetera, and we'll share those details for you later. So let's go on to some newsy items now to promote a little bit of discussion. Pope Francis visited the United States and stirred more than the hearts and catechisms of the Catholic faithful this week. His trip began in Washington with events involving the Senate and the President, and then on to NYC. Staying at the official residence of the Apostolic Nuncio and Permanent Observer Mission of the Holy See to the United Nations, the Pope was guarded more securely than the crown jewels. Now, the street was even closed to all pedestrians except those with business with the pontiff himself. Now, aside of bringing traffic to a standstill and requiring transport and security, all at the taxpayer's pleasure, some of his statements and actions have caused concern and reaction. The Pope broke protocol on several occasions, requesting children be brought to him for blessings. Now, he spoke at an interfaith service calling for the world to build unity from its differences, and says the world can bring peace from its differences. Any attempt to make us all the same. Rather, he encouraged all to say yes to our differences, accepting reconciliation. He also expressed concerns about the poor, and I sat with bated breath waiting for him to announce that the Vatican would commence helping the poor immediately by plowing money into the Catholic churches to be disseminated throughout the United States. However, that didn't happen. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio opened homeless suites for an estimated 180 of the city's homeless for the period of the Pontiff's stay, which will clearly make an enormous dent and radical difference when they have closed. Now, forgive my cynicism, but the pomp and circumstance was not a jot of real action stuck in my craw, and to be honest, talk is very cheap. So what say you? I'm not trying to be negative, and I'm not anti-Pope or anything like that, but for me, with talk has to come action. Tell me, first of all, Swoop, what's your first reaction to the Pope's visit to the United States? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What say you?
I'm glad you gave me this opportunity because I've been ranting a little bit all week. In the mid '80s, the Pope that was around then came to Los Angeles, and it was a big deal. And a lot of similar things you talk about happened there. Street closures and things like that. And,
right.
Tons of people out there, but he kept himself safe because he stayed in the Pope mobile. And he did what kind of what you need to do. My thing is like you say, talk is cheap. You're basically in charge of one of the richest religions in the world. You come here and you talk about how we should treat people, and clean up your own house first. I understand. Right. When you start talking about religious leaders and stuff, people get upset. But the bottom line is I have nothing against the Pope. He has things he needs to do and things he needs to say, feels he needs to say. But this is a church that's had a lot of issues over the years, and I don't mean like in the last 10 years. We're talking hundreds of years of issues. For sure. And you start talking about recently, with the priest sexual scandals and you're talking about feeding the poor. The Vatican is one of the richest countries basically around, and they own all this art. Stuff like that. So lead by example.
Wow. Well, and just to be clear, we didn't talk about any of the topics. We didn't talk before today about what we were going to talk about today, so it's not like we've concurred just for the sake of the show, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So one of the things I want to pick up on is one of the things you said, which kind of highlighted something for me with regards to one of the Pope's statements. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Basically, what he was saying is that he was concerned for those in the priesthood who were not involved in any of sexual abuse, and he was concerned about how this had affected them. And that kind of made my blood boil a little bit, because I don't care how this affected them. I care how this affected those who were abused. Why should we be concerned about the way that other priests felt about this, and maybe were tarnished by the process? Do you think that's a fair statement, or would you disagree?
No, I think it's a fair statement. Here's the thing, there's certain professions you go in, and people expect a certain standard, right? And when somebody breaks that standard, it reflects on everybody. And you know what? When you're the everybody, and like I said, I was in law enforcement, so every time some cop got arrested or did something messed up or whatever, you painted everybody with a broad brush.
Exactly.
As much as you don't like it, bottom line is that kind of comes with the territory, And what you need to do is you need to clean house first, and then gain the public's trust. Again, by showing that that's the few, but when you talk about the number of incidents we've heard about with the sex scandals and stuff like that, I don't know how many priests there are in the world, so it might be a few numbers wise, but I'm telling you, it's a lot of incidents. It's a whole lot of incidents, and it seems to be systematic sometimes. So I don't know what you can't really. I'm concerned about the victims more than I'm concerned about what the other.
For sure. No, I mean a lot of what the Pope is saying kind of like talks my language about unity and forgetting about differences and coming together as a community, et cetera, et cetera. But I keep coming back to the fact that. I keep coming back to the fact of exactly what you say about, getting your own house in order first. And when this guy first came along, because obviously he was on Pope Idol in Italy and won it or whatever, and now he's Popified. And I thought this is going to be a breath of fresh air for Catholicism, but it's like he made these bold statements and then ran back to the Vatican and got slapped on the leg by the senior advisors in Catholicism. For me, the Bible is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore, and its message is about love. But when you're using the Bible to whack people around the head with, whether it be about their sexuality or the mistakes they've made, et cetera, and not offering them alternatives and offering them another way to go and more advice, that kind of concerns me, and I think that sometimes some things that this Pope has said smacks of hypocrisy.
Well, you're much more generous than I think a lot of things he has said that I've heard, seem to be very hypocritical. And the thing is, listen, I have two really, really good friends that are priests, and right. I don't know their feelings on this Pope or not. That I know that they're, as human beings, I've known them for a lot of years. They're really good people, and they believe in what they do, and they show it. They actually, we talk about how they live and what they do and stuff like that. They lead by example. I find, like you said, that he says things that they reek of hypocrisy. There are things you can do. You're the leader. You're the leader now. You can make some changes. You can. I don't know what the phrasing is, but you could fire guys who have a history or who've been accused and convicted or whatever, instead of over the years they just move them to a different parish or to a different country or something like that. You can wipe the books clean. So we've gotten rid of everybody who's ever been punished for any of these indiscretions, as they call them.
Oh, you mean rather than just move them to a different parish to do the same thing again where nobody knows them, of course.
Fresh meat, man. That's all it is these guys. I mean, exactly. I hate to be so crude, but that's all it is these days. It's just, I got caught here. You're going to move me somewhere else, and oh my, look at me. I got new altar boys. So, yeah.
Yes, and that is, that really is the concern. And the thing is for me about anybody that has an ideology, that's fine. I don't care what your background is, what color your skin is, what God you pray to, as long as you're living it. Because when you're not living it, surely you're a hypocrite. And that really is, what concerns me. And everyone's allowed to evolve. I'm totally cool with that. I've evolved so much over the past 10 years, socially, politically, in every way. But one has to kind of like maintain that standard. We're all human. We all slip. We all do and say things that we shouldn't. Me more than most. My background is in comedy, so I have a tendency to make a joke about things, and even during serious discussions, I get into trouble for it. But I try and maintain that level of whatever you want to call it. I want to learn. I want to live it, and that's what I want other people to do also.
Well, I agree with you, and believe me, I get in the same trouble for the same things because I find humor in just about everything, and I think a lot of times it brings us together. We don't all have to agree on the same thing politically, religiously, whatever. But if we can sit down and have discussions, laugh about the things that are funny to us, and without the other person being offended by it. I think we're in a better place. Accept our differences. That's not. Nobody has a problem with that. Accept our differences. We can all learn from each other. But like I said, you're in charge of a place that's got a history of a lot of negative things right now. And I think it's like we talk about things that happen in our government. We say sometimes, don't they have more important issues to be dealing with right now than steroids in baseball, right? So it's like, there's more important things you should be focusing on right now. And I know he's going around the world and saying these things, but I think there's some pretty important things going on within that church that, that need to be focused on. I know that I've read that he's brought a lot of people back to the Catholic Church. They've been like what he has to say. But I think, a lot of things that were done were criminal. And, they found ways to avoid criminal prosecution, and still maintain their jobs. And I have a really big issue with that.
Yes, I totally agree. I do too. And one of the other things that's really kind of irked me about this visit, as a Christian, for me, the Bible teaches me that Jesus is the head of the church. And all the people I've seen saying on social media and on the TV and stuff that the Pope is the head of the church. I mean, where does it say that in the Bible? The Pope is not even mentioned in the Bible. So to classify him as the head, he might be the head of the Roman Catholic Church, but he's not the head of the church. I mean, am I splitting hairs, or would you agree or disagree with that statement?
You might be splitting hairs there. I think as I'm not a Catholic. I've known, I grew up with Catholics. I've been married to a few Catholics. But I know that I know that they said that he's the head of their church. I think what happens, what I see the press puts out, or the media puts out, is that he's the head of the church. And I think that's where we're splitting hairs here. I think Catholics believe he's the head of the Catholic Church. They don't believe he's the head of their they don't believe he's over God or anything. He's at the head of the Catholic Church. So I think we're splitting hairs there, because I think a lot of times things get reported and the statements that are said, and listen, a lot of people, he's their spiritual leader, and they're reporting things, and they're giddy, and they say things, and sometimes people misspeak. So I
absolutely,
don't believe,
which is a fabulous lead-in to the next story. But before we do that, I just want to say, don't people get so butthurt? I was on a radio show recently, and I was talking about. Have you heard of this young guy called C.J. Pearson? He's like 15 years old. He's Republican, and he has conversations with. And I said he was this young black kid, and I was told I wasn't allowed to say that because it was offensive. Why is it offensive? I never said it offensively. I said it because it was a lead-in to who the kid was,
Yeah, not offensive. And I don't know who told you it was offensive, but I do have I have a little theory here about certain things. A lot of times I'm told certain things I say are offensive, and I'm told they're offensive by white people, and I'm like, well,
right,
it's not offensive, and you lighten up. Things when there are things that are truly offensive, they're pretty obvious, and when you're splitting hairs, like things like that, and you're saying, oh, that's offensive, or that can be offensive, or that might be offensive, it might offend somebody. I saw a cartoon the other day. It's a little guy at a computer. I don't know, you may have posted it. I don't remember who posted it, but it says, Johnny's on the internet. Johnny sees something that's offensive. Johnny moves on.
Yeah.
That's this whole thing about I'm offended, and you gotta stop, cease and desist this behavior because I'm offended. There's no constitutional right to not be offended, and there's no constitutional right, it stops me from speaking my mind.
Absolutely. I think we've. I'm all for not being offensive, but I think that unfortunately in this day and age, some people get offended at the drop of a pen.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And we really gotta move on from that, because let's face it, we all make mistakes, and some of us don't always use the appropriate vernacular. But if nobody tells us what vernacular to use, how do we know? And some people are good with one vernacular, and some people are totally against that vernacular. So, where do we go? But a lead on as to what we were just talking about is a story I found this week, which I found hilarious and wanted to share. It's official. Leonardo DiCaprio is kind of a Renaissance man. Painted the Mona Lisa, according to Fox News anchor Shepard Smith, who accidentally credited the actor with the accomplishment last week. He made the blunder while talking about how scientists are trying to identify the model used in the iconic portrait, but did not acknowledge the gaffe on air or make any mention of it online. The internet, however, lit up after with commentary of our Leo's new achievement, according to the Shepster. DiCaprio, 40, was accidentally named after the original late iconic Italian artist. That would be Leonardo da Vinci, Shepard, because I know you listen to the show. He said his dad and his mom were visiting the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy, and stopped to look at Leonardo da Vinci paintings, and apparently that's how they came to give him the name, because he started kicking furiously while they were looking at these exhibits, and his dad said it was an omen. Now, it happens to all of us in the media. I'm sure this has happened to you too, Swoop. We all make mistakes, and I get messages every week correcting my pronunciation, reminding me of things I've forgotten to confirm. But what you're going to do, Shepard, it's at times like this you really have just got to laugh. Now, it's funny, and let's face it, if that were me, if I'd said that, I would be making such a big deal out of it because it's funny. How about you? How do you deal, as a broadcaster, Swoop, how do you deal with it when you make a gaffe? Because we all do. We all say things the wrong way around or read the words wrong. Or how do you deal with it?
I laugh at it. Unless I make some kind of major blunder with facts. With our show, I always wanted to say, I always wanted to make sure people knew when it was an opinion and when it was a fact. And sure. if we blew a fact, I'd always come back and say, we blew the fact, or I blew the fact. The fact is blah, 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 blah. If we misspoke, in the course of just our banter or whatever, it's just funny. And, and the thing is you have to laugh. And like you, I tell people say, you pronounce that wrong, or, I think you use that word incorrectly. It actually means this. And I'm like, we're talking for 3 hours a night, and I'm gonna misspeak. I misspeak daily, and when I'm not on the air. So why should I change up my behavior when I'm on the air?
Absolutely,
it just happens. It's just the way of life, right?
Absolutely, and I spent like a lot of my formative life in the UK. So when I get tired, my head goes really British, and I say words that people are like, "What does that mean?" you know.
Do you say vitamins and basil?
Yeah, absolutely. And my most typical one is I'm cold. I need to go put a jumper on, and people are like, "What are you talking about? What is a jumper?" I'm like, I said sweater. I didn't say jumper. I said sweater. So my brain kind of reverts to that British state when I'm tired. But I think it kind of feeds into a little bit of what we were talking about people getting so butthurt. It's one thing to have an opinion about it, but say it and move on. Don't harp on it for days, because I think, you know, there are more important things going on in the world than someone misspeaking, you know, and we need to get over it quicker. Don't you agree?
I agree, and you know, Xander, maybe I'm going to ask you this, because I think a lot of times things are perpetuated. You never wag the dog, because I said this a few times. Why, like, you know, all for over a year, we heard about Deflategate, and you know, like, there's all kinds of horrible things going on in the world, but this is making the top of the news hour every night. And I wonder why is it? Are they trying to take our mind off the prize? Or is there things going on they're trying to slip underneath? Is Congress trying to get some bill passed that they don't want us to know about? And when I see stuff, you know, not necessarily on this level here, but like you brought up that people keep stuff going, when I see things, you know, get legs, as they say, and on month in and month out over, you know, the littlest thing, I start to wonder, why is this still a story?
Right. I think there is definitely an element of the media kind of making things bigger. I even got into trouble over that. I even said, who wants to talk about Tom Brady's balls? And obviously I'm not allowed to say that because it has like a double entendre attached to it. But I was actually talking about the kind that you kick around when you're playing football. And so I tend to get into a lot of trouble. I really do. But I think you're right, Swoop. I think the media does have this ability to make us kind of focus on some things rather than others. And I refer to that as free pizza. And I think there's a lot of this free pizza going on in political circles where some more conservative-driven media will report things one way and more democratic driven media will kind of report it another. And I think the government are responsible for a lot of this as well, because I think their PR machine is going all the time, and the thing is they get us to look at things. You know, look at this free pizza over here, Xander, and obviously if there's free pizza, I'm there. If it's got pepperoni on, you know, I'm kind of at the front of the queue. But I think that it's in order to make us not see other things that are going on. Because when you think about it, a lot of things that are going on in the world, even in our own country, on our own doorstep, we don't discuss because people are more interested in American Idol. And that's very symptomatic of society, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And when people get locked in all this other nonsense, I think that the free pizza analogy is great. I mean, it's exactly what it is. You're paying attention over here, and all of a sudden, you know, hey, you see what we got going over here, and you're locked in on that, and you forget about some of the important stuff at times.
Absolutely, and so I don't think that it's not accidental. It is actually done in order to shift the focus from one issue to another. And I think that, I don't know about you, but I think that as broadcasters, this is why I really started to do radio again and to get my own show, because I wanted to get my point across. Not that you would notice, but I'm someone that has a lot to say, and I really do want to get my point across. And your audience finds you. You know, the people that listen to your show obviously are interested in what you've got to say. You don't go out there and find them. They definitely find you. And there are some, I don't know if you find this, but there are some listeners that will listen to you whatever, and they don't always have to agree with you. But I've had some listeners that if they disagree with one thing, they're gone. Okay, bye-bye. There's the door. you know?
Right. And you know, you don't need those.
Definitely not.
Yeah, don't tune in to me to be you know, believing you're going to agree with everything I say.
Yep.
And I don't know how anybody agrees with, like you said earlier, you know, I'm not the same person I was, 15 years ago. I mean, I'm pretty much the same personality-wise, but, beliefs or opinions, they change. And I think sometimes you learn things and you go, man, I was wrong about this for a long time. Just like we were talking about earlier, I was wrong about how I felt about vitamins for a long time, and then I made a decision to do things a different way, And so I think to listen to a show, I think you should listen to the show because it's interesting to you, not because you're going to agree. There are people who tune in, the same people every day, because they agree with every word they say. And I think you're a one-dimensional person if you agree with somebody that much.
But isn't that scary, Swoop, that there are people in this world that are so set in their ways and their ideologies and opinions that they won't be swayed? Because, I'm swayable. If you can prove me wrong, then I'm always happy for you to do that. If you can show me facts that pertain to a situation that change the way I think, I love that. I live for that. Because the thing is that if we stand still, we're actually going backwards. And if we're not prepared to be proven wrong and shown a different way, we don't go anywhere. We stand still and become stagnant. Just in my opinion, of course.
No, absolutely. Because if you're set in your ways, say just pick a subject. Say you have a strong belief about a specific race of people,
right?
And you don't have any intention of ever getting to know somebody of that race. You never met anybody of that race, or you may have met one person of that race and had a bad experience with them, and that's it. So you don't improve as a person. You probably taint your offspring. There's a whole bunch of negatives there. You have to keep moving and keep your mind open and then learn from everybody. And I've met so many great people all over every place I've traveled over the years and stuff like that. To be locked in and say I refuse to whatever, it's silly. Period.
Well, I've experienced so many times. I've met people. I'm openly gay. It's not the most interesting fact about me. But I've actually had people say to me, and I'm sure you can kind of concur with this a little. Not on the gay thing, but obviously on different issues. But people said, "Oh, you're the first person, first gay person I've met, Xander, and you're not half bad." And I'm like, "Well, thank you for that." You know what I mean? So I love to dispel people's preconceptions.
Yeah, believe me, I know what you mean, because my junior high school, there had been one black guy that had gone there before, and he graduated the year before I got there. So I got a lot of that over the years growing up. It's like, hey, you're not half that for a black guy, or
you're black?
Yeah, surprisingly,
I know. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think I think some people are so tunnel visioned, and they it's like I have an aunt who used to say I hate Indian food, and I'm like, well, when did you try it and what did you try and what put you off? She's like, I've never tried it, just the concept of it. So I made a curry one night for her. I called it a stew, a spicy stew, and she ate it. She was like, oh, that was lovely. I went, oh, that was actually curry. She's like, are you kidding me? I love it. And there are so many people out there that won't try. I thought that because my parents didn't like avocado, I thought I didn't like avocado. I love avocado. First time I tried it, I was like, I love this. So if you can take anything from the conversation we just had, people listening to this show, it's try something new,
Absolutely.
It might just surprise you. We're coming to the end of our time together, Swoop. It's been a fabulous hour, as usual. I want you to take the last couple of minutes and tell people where they can find you on social media and give them your web address, etc., so people can come and talk to you about the other stuff, the organic, healthy stuff that you've got going on.
first of all, Xander, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I know you miss Ty, but I thank you, Ty, for allowing me to sit in your seat for an hour here every once in a while. I appreciate it. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/swoop.swoopsworld, at Swoopsworld on Instagram and then Twitter. You can find my website, blog.healthynewday.com, and you will find everything you need to know right there about me, what I do, and and if you want to contact me, just send an email to Keith@healthynewday.com, and I'll be glad to answer any questions and go from there.
Absolutely, and the pleasure is, as always, is ours, and I hope you'll come back very soon and join us. Actually, it'd be great for you to come on more often. We always have a good conversation going. But for now, thank you so much for joining us today, Keith Swoop Lewis. Make sure you check out all his social media. Check out his website. We'll share that later, and it will be on the radio page on XanderGibb.com, so you can go check him out. But for now, Swoop, thanks so much for joining us today. It really was a pleasure.
Thank you, Xander.
Thanks a lot, Swoop. You too. That was the fabulous Keith Swoop Lewis from Swoopsworld, which is on hiatus right now, but it will be back very soon, so make sure you do go and join him on his radio show. Check out his website and see what he's got to say about healthy eating and organic food, etc., etc. Well, that is all we have time for today on Xandermonium. Thanks to you for listening. Make sure you check me out on social media. Everything you need to know about me is on XanderGibb.com, and we will be back next time on Xandermonium. I love you all. Bye-bye.